What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking every episode 9 from series 1 to 12. So yeah, really we're just going to get straight into this. There's not a whole lot to talk about. Remember, these are my personal opinions. I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below though, so please do put your ranking of every episode 9 from series 1 to 12 in the comments below. I'd love to see it. Anyway, let's just get straight into it. Number 12. Sleep No More from series 9. Now here's an episode that had a lot of kind of ambition and was kind of doing something new with the whole found footage approach to Doctor Who, something that had never been done in Doctor Who before. And it thought, you know what, I think it was Mark Gatiss that wrote this one. He thought, you know what, we're gonna try and do this. It's something different, it's ambitious, and you know what, you gotta give him credit for trying on this one, but ultimately I don't think the found footage really worked. Just the execution of it didn't really work, and it just doesn't really fit in with Doctor Who, I don't think. And then ultimately the story itself wasn't the best. I mean, I didn't mind it with the whole, the sand people and the sleep in your eye and stuff. It was a little weird, but it was okay. I think one of the main issues with this though was the found footage aspect, the way that was kind of put together in the end, but also the characters. There was definitely a couple of characters here that weren't really that interesting. Most of the characters, side characters in this one, didn't really have any character to them at all and weren't very interesting to watch. So yeah, unfortunately this one was a bit of a flop. Number 11. Empress of Mars from Series 10. So this one, on first viewing I actually quite enjoyed, but on second viewing, my most recent viewing, so I'm pretty sure I've only seen it twice, I actually wasn't the biggest fan of it. I don't know, I went through this one and I thought, that was kind of just very average. And that's it for me. But I mean, number 11 on the list, and we're already just at average stories. I think Sleep No More is the only actually, for me, bad story in this episode 9 slot. But yeah, Empress of Mars, it's just a bit of an average episode for me. The Ice Warriors are back again, their second proper appearance in the new series. But yeah, they really didn't work for me. I think they worked a lot better in Cold War in Series 7. And when they came back here, I mean, you had the Empress, who was the main, thing with this, and she was cool, and it was nice seeing more Ice Warriors instead of just the one that we saw in Cold War. But yeah, I thought their gun thing turning people into weird rolling balls was a bit silly. And ultimately, the whole episode wasn't that engaging. The little cameo for Alpha Centauri though was a nice callback to Classic Who. Number 10. Hyde from Series 7. Now this is a ghost story and I do quite like ghost stories, however I'm going to be honest, on the most part they haven't been done that well in Doctor Who, I don't think. I think the only ghost story that really works well is Under the Lake Before the Flood. The other ghost stories, you've got Hyde, you've got things like, the Unquiet Dead and stuff like that. I don't think they work quite as well. They're still decent, and same with this. This is just kind of, once again, it's kind of an average story for me. It's fairly scary at times, and you know what? Throughout most of this episode, it is quite engaging, and I do quite like it. However, it's when the Doctor starts kind of going back in time and doing all these weird things, and I think there's a point in this episode, I'm not sure, where he's trying to find stuff out about Clara. I think that's this episode. I can't remember 100%. But then it's mainly at the end where they find out that the ghost is actually this woman and she's kind of stuck in time. That's alright, but then you've got this whole, the weird creature thing which looks absolutely ridiculous. It just looks so stupid, and ultimately it's just trying to find itself its mate. So yeah, it's not the best end for the episode. Number 9. Night Terrors from Series 6. Now here's one that I actually reviewed recently when I started doing my new series reviews. Night Terrors was actually the first episode I picked out. And I'm going to be honest, I disliked this one a little bit more when I rewatched it with a kind of review analytical sort of look to it. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's okay. Once again, it's just kind of average. I think it's like a 7.5 I might have given this one, I think. But ultimately, yeah, it's enjoyable on the most part, and I think the peg dolls are really creepy. I think they're actually terrifying. Just the way they sound, their little laughs and giggles, and the way they look and turning, like when Amy gets turned into one, it's terrifying. But apart from that, the story doesn't really do that much to engage me. The factor of, it's kind of love again in the end that wins. It happened a lot, especially in the Moffat era, in Matt Smith's era particularly. So yeah, this one's one that I can stick on and enjoy and watch, but it's definitely not a standout. Number 8. Cold Blood from Series 5. Yeah, so Matt Smith gets all three of his stories literally back to back towards the bottom of this list. that's really because they're all just kind of average. Cold Blood is my favourite of the three. I did originally have Night Terrors in front of Cold Blood, but since rewatching Night Terrors, I've since put Cold Blood above it in the number 8 spots. Yeah, this is the second part to the Hungry Earth Cold Blood Silurian two-parter from Series 5, and yeah, I think this one's pretty good actually. I mean, I might actually give this one, I'd probably give this like maybe an 8 out of 10. I can't decide just off the top of my head whether I prefer this to the first part, but there's definitely some good stuff going on here. You've got all the stuff underground with the Silurians trying to figure out a deal between the humans and the Silurians. What can they figure out? You've got, you know, I mean, the end with Rory dying. Rory gets killed and, you know, engulfed by the crack in time. That's a crazy, crazy thing happening at the end there, and I think that is really what escalates this episode. So yeah, honestly, it's pretty good. Number 7. It takes you away from Series 11. So yeah, we've got our Series 11 spot episode here. And yeah, It Takes You Away was one of my favourite episodes from Series 11. I think it was pretty good all the way through, up until the end with the frog, which, oh god, the Solitract frog, what? Why was it a frog? And why did it have Grace's voice? Just, I don't know. I have no words. Other than that, though, this is actually a pretty enjoyable episode, I thought. I liked kind of the two worlds and the fact that they have to go through this kind of mid-world. I can't remember what they called it now, but you know where that Ribbons guy was? He was a bit creepy and weird. I liked that little thing, how you had something going on in between, and how you know, Grace was there and Graham was kind of coming to mind of, geez, Grace is back, but it turns out no, she isn't. It's the Solitract universe trying to mess with your head. And I thought the blind character was pretty good in all of this. Yeah, a little bit of a different, weird sort of story, but actually quite an enjoyable one. Number 6. Ascension of the Cybermen from Series 12. Now, I've been saying this with all of my Series 12 episodes and some of the Series 11 ones as well. You've got to take this one with a grain of salt because I have still only watched this episode once. And when I first watched it, I actually quite enjoyed it. Now, with subsequent thoughts and that on the, you know, how it all went, maybe I'd go back on it and be a bit more, you know, meh about it, but I think putting it in the number 6 spot at the moment is a good place for me to put it. Honestly, the Cybermen in this, I think are actually really good. From my memory of watching it the one time, I remember the Cybermen being pretty good. You've got the lone Cyberman as well, of course, and he's really, really good in this one. And of course, this is before the Master shows up. And I mean, let's just talk about the bloody cliffhanger at the end of this episode, leading us into the finale. What a thing, you know, the Master comes jumping out, and it's just, what? This Master never fails to surprise. So yeah, generally I quite enjoyed this one. I'm looking forward to going through and watching it again. Number 5. Flatline from Series 8. Now here's an interesting one because this is an episode that really puts Clara in the spotlight. She basically is the Doctor. She's pretending to be the Doctor in this episode, which is something that I usually hate from Clara because she gets too up herself. She thinks she's the Doctor and I don't like it. But in Flatline, I think it works pretty well. I like it. I love the Doctor being shrunk inside the little TARDIS. The little TARDIS is hilarious. When he like flaps his arm out of it, it's hilarious. When he, you know, has to move his hand like the bloody the hand from the Addams Family, that's so funny on the train track. And generally there's just some funny stuff going on. It's a pretty funny episode. You've got the whole swing thing with her and what's his name, Riggsy. That's a little bit, you know, a little bit explicit. But it's a funny episode. It's a good episode. I quite like the Flood as a villain. I think they were not the Flood, the Boneless, that's what he calls him, isn't it? And I like pretty much everything about this episode. Yeah, it's just good. Number 4. Forest of the Dead from Series 4. Now, this is the second part of the Silence in the Library Forest of the Dead Vashta Narada two-parter. And yeah, it's pretty good. I'm going to be honest, I didn't used to really like Forest of the Dead quite as much in some ways to the first part, mainly because I wasn't the biggest fan of the whole kind of Donna thing. You know how Donna's in this other world, and you don't know what's going on, and I didn't really like it. I just felt like it kind of detracted from the rest of the story, the interesting stuff with the Doctor and River and all that was going on. But now, after watching it God knows how many times, I've come to like it, and I've come to realise, you know what, it's done really well, because you've got Cal, who's, you know, flicking through her TV screen. She's flicking through from these two different worlds, you know, the Doctor and Donna in her little world, flicking between them like TV channels, and I just think it really works well. Although I still think that some of the stuff with Donna does kind of drag a little bit, I've got a hell of a lot more appreciation for it now. So yeah, Forrest of the Dead comes in the number 4 spot. Number 3, the Satan Pit from Series 2. Now this top 3 was really difficult to kind of put down, and honestly, the 3 and 2 could probably interchange, and maybe even the first spot, but I've got Satan Pit at number 3 at the moment. This is the second part of the Ood two-parter from Series 2. Really just builds off of what the first part did. I've always loved this two-parter. It's always been one of my favourites. It was actually my favourite story at one point. It has since, you know, moved down a little bit, but everything from, and I mentioned this last time, the characters in this, they're just so fleshed out, and so sad when, you know, the soldier dies, and when in the end Toby ends up dying, you know, when Rose shoots him out of the rocket, and the Doctor falling to the bottom of the pit, and all that sort of stuff, and it's just a monumental story. The devil himself, basically Satan in the bottom of the pit, he's a little bit kind of just screechy, doesn't say anything, just a bit of a boring monster, but I still think he's pretty terrifying. And you could tell the Doctor, the fact that the Doctor didn't, even after this, didn't know, he's like, I don't know what that writing was, I don't know who this god was, it's pretty crazy. Number 2, The Empty Child from Series 1. Now when we talk about a good two-parter, you can't forget The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances from Series 1. It's brilliant, it's fantastic. I love this. The first part is especially good. The cliffhanger, I mean, let's just get straight to the cliffhanger. Terrifying, you know, the Doctor, Jack, and Rose are being kind of surrounded by these masked people. He's like, what are they going to do? It's just such a crazy cliffhanger. Of course, you've got the introduction to Captain Jack Harkness in this episode. So he's introduced for the first time, which is awesome to see. He becomes one of the best characters in the show's history. Just the kind of banter between Jack, Rose, and the Doctor is great as well. You've got the gas mask kid, who is terrifying. I think he really is quite scary. Just the, are you my mummy? And it's just really creepy. I love the moment at the start where the Doctor goes and he's like, have you seen this big, you know, this big thing fall to the ground anytime recently? And then he realizes, yes, this is the middle of the war. Bit of a stupid question to ask. It's just a great start to a great two-parter. Number 1, The Family of Blood from Series 3. Yeah, I've got to put this in the number 1 spot. This is the second part of the Human Nature Family of Blood two-parter from Series 3. I think I had Human Nature at the top of last episode's list. And yeah, The Family of Blood gets the top of this one. It's become my favourite Doctor Who story at the moment. It's just so good. I think I actually prefer this part to Human Nature, because you've got the stuff in this one of John Smith realising, shit, maybe I am actually not the person that I think I am. Maybe these dreams in my head are actually true. And oh my god, the emotion when he's talking to, you know, his, well, what was going to be soon to be wife, pretty much in this story, and you know, he's going through and seeing, you see this flashback, this flash forward of all the things that could happen if he stays as John Smith. It's so emotional, but I love the moment where he's in the ship, for the Family of Blood ship, and he switches. You know, you don't know if he's actually, you know, he's the Doctor again, but then you realize he's been flicking all these switches, and then when he catches the watch, it's just amazing. It's so triumphant, and I absolutely love that bit where he goes run. And and the montage at the end as well. I could literally talk about this story all day. It's amazing. Alright, so that's my ranking of every episode 9 from series 1 to 12. What are your opinions? Please tell me down in the comments below. I'd love to see them. Remember, please accept other people's opinions, you know, be mindful. They are opinions, so please be nice. So yeah, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing my ranking every episode 10s. That'll be the last one for series 1 to 12, and I am going to do episode 11, 12, and 13, but of course, series 11 and 12 only have 10 episodes, so it'll just be series 1 to 10, and then for episode 13, it will just be series 1 to 7. So yeah, look out for those future videos. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, link is in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.